Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode number 4 of my The Art of Teaching series. Today, I want to talk about something that many of you might probably not even think as something important. So, I have in my teaching career, I have a bad habit. Sometimes it looks to students as if I don't have concern for time, because whenever I teach a certain piece of content, what happens is, say the session is between 2 to 6. Sometimes I go on until about 6:30, 7 p.m., 8. Now, just yesterday and day before, I had my live sessions for the case study, the strategic case study, and I promise that the sessions will be about 2 hours. But both yesterday's and previous day sessions took more than 3 hours. Why does this happen? Why does this happen? Do I not have a regard for time? So when I think about that, it's a very old habit, and I have been doing this for a very long time. So students, first they're flustered and they're annoyed, but then they get into that vibe, because I had teachers who used to do the same thing with me, and I think these teachers I idolize. I like them. I draw. I am inspired by their work. Say for example, I've even referred to him before, Mr. Jeffrey, who we used to call brother, just brother. He was an English teacher. What happened was, my dad had a chicken farm shed at our house. Right, he set it up a long time ago when I was very young, but the chicken business didn't really work out. So it was like a shed, right, where just various things, miscellaneous items were held. But then when brother wanted to start teaching English, my dad rented out that space. So this was at our home, right, at our garden. And basically every day about nearly at least 150, 200 kids from the entire village, entire Gampala city area used to come to our house to learn English. This man, this wonderful, amazing, beautiful human being, because I must say this now, look at me, right? I'm talking to you in English, and at the moment I know for a fact that my content is being accessed globally across. There is no boundary to, there is no national boundary, cross country boundary to my content. The way I handle the language, I just had a call with many African continent residents yesterday. There are Europeans, there are Americans, there are Canadians, there are Chinese, Hong Kong, Malaysian, Australian nationals who access my content. How is this happening? Because of that man. He had no regard for time. So he'll start his sessions. He'll come to our house, to the shed where the tuition was. Start at about 7 o'clock in the morning, and then he'll go on until about 10 p.m. at night, until he's tired or until he's done for the day. He feels like he's done for the day, and he feels like he's done justice for the rotation of the students. He'll go on. Right? I have been in his classes where he's going on until about 11 p.m. at night. No regard for time. Right? Why did he do that? What was the need? Okay. And I'll tell you, the fact that I'm talking to you, I'm handling the language. I'm not saying it's the best, right? But I'm handling the language with this level of confidence and this level of authentic, learned approach is because of that man. And it probably wouldn't have become this quality, and I wouldn't have been able to communicate at this level to you if he didn't do that extra work. He didn't do that overtime with no pay. So I remember there, Professor Nimal Hettiarachi, from whom I learned physics. So he'll come to the session and he always says, I have a plan for the day. He's the man with a plan. And he'll come to the session, he'll start the session, and let's say we're talking about thermodynamics. So he'll have a plan, and basically he used to have a beautiful way of delivery So if there's a 4-hour session, he'll teach for the 4 hours, and on the corner of the board, because it's a very long board, in the corner, everything he teaches is separately summarized. So by the time he finishes the session, you have a complete image of what you learned. I draw from that today. I use it for my strategic and financial management sessions. So sometimes my sessions used to start at 1:30. I'm talking about 3,000, 4,000 kids, and he has a very acute awareness of the fact that students from hundreds of miles far away, right, from rural villages, come to his sessions, right? So he has that understanding. He knows that these students are working very hard. So if he hasn't cleared the piece of subject by the time it's supposed to finish, the session is supposed to finish, say 6:30, he'll go on until about 15 minutes, all of that, right? He'll finish the area, he'll assign the work to us, and he'll do a clean finish that session. And I think with any profession, any other profession in the world, you don't have that luxury. But in teaching you can. But the intention is important. But one thing I've realized, like another example I can tell you is Mr. Gamini Pereira, from whom I learnt combined mathematics. Much of my PO Maths knowledge is coming from him. He is also someone who is very committed, right? And he goes on extra half an hour, and it's not easy for him to deal with about 1,000 students. Most of them are already tired of maths after looking at complex equations and formulae for 5 hours. But still he'll go on because he wants to complete that area, and he's really committed. It's more than the money or whatever. For him, it was more about just delivering the content to a reasonable degree of excellence. So when you grow up with these kind of teachers, I mean, no wonder this happens to me. And somehow a decade and plus of teaching, my own career, it has never worked poorly for me. Here and there, you get an annoyed student, but then even they realize. But one thing I've realized as we've come to the modern day is the fact that students are becoming less and less tolerant to this. The nagging becomes more personal. The nagging becomes more aching. The things they say, the facial reaction. And those days, when we react to a teacher deciding to continue for half an hour extra, is blank. We don't know what to do, right? We know it's important. Nowadays, it's as if what the hell, don't you care about our time? Who the hell do you think you are? That kind of reaction you get from some students. I don't like that. Thankfully, I don't get it much, but I've seen it. It's a rare occasion, but what can you do, right? You keep going, you keep doing your work. So I think that we have to understand it also. So if at all, what I'm trying to say is that there are content oriented teachers and there are time oriented teachers, and both are good. And because punctuality, all these are very important, both are good. I think that if you're the kind of teacher who subscribes to my this passionate idea of teaching, then I think we should all try and be conscious about balancing both. So one trick I use is, if I'm going to take longer, I give a early signal. I tell them earlier, right? Today, guys, we're gonna go on for what half an hour longer. So if I know that I'm gonna take about 15 minutes extra, I'm gonna tell them that it's half an hour. So they're ready in the mind. And also, when I start my sessions with any batch, at the beginning itself, I tell them, look, this is the way I teach. So sometimes some sessions we're going to take longer. So you prep them, you prep their mind, you keep them informed. They like that. They respect that. Obviously, this is not going to work with very young kids, but any kid after 12, 13 years old, they will respect it. I feel like that's worked for me. So as teachers, internally looking at ourselves, we draw a lot from our teachers, and this is something that I draw from my old teachers, as you can see. And I think it's very important that we all look inward to see what kind of teachers are we. And do we focus more on the delivery of the content all the time, or do we strike a good balance between both, that doesn't inconvenience the students, neither myself? And, because this is the thing with content, you force yourself to overwork yourself. One, you're going to feel, fatigue is going to hit you. You're going to feel tired, and that in turn will affect the quality of your delivery. So you shouldn't overdo it. Trust me, I've done it. I've overdone it. I've learned my lessons. So in that sense, I think that's why planning is very important. We have to figure out exactly how many hours of content we need. We have to have a fair understanding. And I can tell you that, say for example, if you take a performance management session, I'll be I'll be given about what they'll tell me I have 80 hours, right? But I always end up doing about 110, because I know that's time you need, right? Every session I've held extra sessions every week. Like the session is during the weekend, but I'll get the students to come to the lecture additional 2 days a week. During the last month we do extra work, because that motivates students, extra time, but also extra effort. That motivates students, that supports students, that makes students feel more confident about their readiness to take the paper. All of this have really helped. So taking that extra time, but in a well-informed, in a very collaborative approach, I think it can do wonders to your teaching career. I hope it does. Thank you very much. I hope there's a lesson or lessons to draw from here. I didn't go the entire breadth, and I wanted to keep it concise also. It's a simple lesson, a simple idea. Think about it. Thank you very much. I will see you on episode 5. God bless and stay safe. Happy teaching.